And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Of course, it's all coming out now, days after the budget was released, and to be fair, this is pretty dark, if true. It really doesn't seem good at all. Well, of course, there has been a bit of conflicting opinions with regard to the OBR and the Labour government. Who do you believe, the OBR, who have got a great track record, or this Labour government that constantly lie and lie again? The OBR have dropped a bombshell, and this could change absolutely everything. As always, guys, we are going to be discussing this story, but please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. What's been said, ladies and gentlemen? Well, essentially, Rachel Reeves has been accused of lying over the state of the UK economy, as Watchdog admits there was no need for tax hikes. Yes, the OBR has suggested that the supposed £30 billion black hole did not even exist. Rachel Reeves has been accused of lying over the state of the UK economy, as the watchdog has admitted that there was no need for Wednesday's radical tax hikes. The OBR said that it informed the Chancellor in September the supposed black hole that she relied on to introduce a flurry of new taxes in the latest budget was actually just £2.5 billion. By October 31st, this is said to have turned into a net positive of £4.2 billion. Therefore, the OBR is suggesting that the so-called black hole Miss Reeves consistently claimed existed and blamed for the near minus £30 billion in tax hikes did not even exist. Instead, the introduction of dozens of new taxes was not to cover the huge deficit she had been supposedly been left with, but to offset the huge welfare costs that they were secretly plotting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what we know that has coincided with this is that the country, or the leaders in the Labour Party, said that they wouldn't be able to introduce or scrap the two-child benefit cap because the country wouldn't have been able to afford it. But also, what we have seen over the last couple of weeks, brewing inside the Labour Party, is the backbenchers getting louder and louder and the internal civil war erupting. Of course, they had to give more welfare due to appease the backbenchers within inside their party. Otherwise, their positions and they were going to be getting ousted. However, her lies, her past, has come to roost. All the lies always catch up with you, and they are being accused of something far sinister from the OBR. And to say that the people are in a meltdown online is an understatement. Let's get a bit more information with regard to this.
On the 17th of September, we've now got exactly what information the Office for Budget Responsibility gave to the Treasury and when. On the 17th of September, the OBR told the Treasury and the Chancellor that even though there was a £16 billion downgrade because of productivity not being so good and all the rest of it, the tax rises were going to pretty much offset that. Stonking tax receipts, I think is how the IFS put it. So there was only going to be a little bit of money missing. By the 31st of October, even that had turned positive, and they actually had a £4.2 billion surplus. But then, just 5 days later, on November the 4th, the Chancellor gave a press conference first thing in the morning, very unusual, and talked about the productivity downgrade, the need for difficult choices, heavily implied that income tax was going to go up. Then it turned out it wasn't, and we were told that the facts had changed. But now it turns out that the Treasury had known for a long time that not only did this black hole not exist, but they were actually sitting on £4.2 billion. So the government has made choices. I flagged this yesterday because I was in the Institute for Fiscal Studies briefing where they said there was no fiscal repair job to do. And I said there was no fiscal repair job and you've made these choices to put up welfare and whatever. And they said, well, we have made choices because we wanted more fiscal headroom, etc., etc. But make no mistake, the government has chosen to freeze these tax thresholds. Sure, to fund headroom, but also to fund large amounts of welfare spending.
Let's cut to the chase here. If there wasn't a £20 billion black hole, and instead we got a £4 billion surplus, that's quite a swing. And we don't know, but if the Chancellor knew that, did she sell the country the illusion of the £20 billion black hole on the basis that we all had to bend over and get these tax rises? So that could fund a nice benefits bonanza, not only for her own Labour voters, but to satiate and silence a backbench Labour MP rebellion. Who knew what? When did they know it? And I put it to you, how far could this go? And if the Chancellor did know, I'm not saying she did, if she did, is this a resigning matter?
Well, I think it could be, but important to say we do not know exactly who knew what and when. But certainly, the OBR have sent this evidence. It's there in black and white. And worth saying, the reason we now have this is because Meg Hillier, who is chair of the Treasury Select Committee, had asked for all the information to be put out there in the public so they could clear up exactly what has gone on. Somebody in the Treasury has made a decision to run with this productivity downgrade line and not tell the public that actually tax receipts are much better. So I would say that we have been misled. And of course, many people will think that the government misled us before the last election when they said there'd be no need for big tax rises because all the money would come from growth.
Now, it all makes sense, whilst not necessarily you can confirm this right now, and it might as well just add here that Downing Street is dismissing the OBR claims, but who do you believe? The OBR have been pretty correct on a lot of things over years, if you look at their sort of history, and they've got all this sort of documentation in black and white. Now, who do you believe? A Labour government that are constantly caught out lying and misleading all of the time, or the OBR's claims? I know who I believe, but I'll let you make your own judgment. And of course, this has hit social media, and people aren't happy. Lee Harris says it's official. There was no £20 billion black hole. It was a lie. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer repeated this lie in the comments at PMQs to press the markets and directly to the British public. To say this incredibly serious would be an understatement. It turns out Rachel Reeves had been briefing bait and lies for months. She misled the public and the markets about a £20 billion black hole in the public finances that didn't actually exist. Disgraceful deception by the Chancellor after breaking election promises. Reside. As you can see, a lot of people are not happy. Stephen Swinwood says the OBR says it informed Rachel Reeves as far back as September that the downgrade in productivity forecast was offset by increases in real wage and inflation. The deficit was in fact just £2.5 billion. By October 31st, that deficit had turned into a net positive of £4.2 billion. That basic forecast did not change from that point. The £30 billion worth of tax rises in the budget are predominantly a consequence of her decisions to increase public spending, particularly on welfare, and have £21.7 billion worth of headroom. Patrick Christie says Rachel Reeves has lied to the entire country, literally all of us. It's a whopper, a lie of epic proportions. How can there even be a question over whether or not she has to go over this? It's mental. It really is mental. And we're seeing it, massively so. A lot of reaction here on social media. So Rachel Reeves lied to the public to justify massive tax rises. Guys, if this is the case, then my goodness me, there is no way out for the Chancellor. She can't. This is everywhere now, and she must come out with a statement to try and bring enough evidence to suggest that this is not the case. But again, I know Labour's track record, and I know what they've been doing. I've been following this government for a very long time, and you can see that they've been coming under internal pressure from within inside the Labour Party, so it wouldn't be a surprise to me if this is what she was doing. They were under pressure from their own peers inside their own party, so it does make sense. But at this time, and whilst we're recording, I have to protect myself here, ladies and gentlemen, and say that Downing Street are refuting any of these claims that have came out today, and we can't necessarily say Rachel is definitely lying. We need to wait and see to see what she says. But guys, do let me know your thoughts on this revelation down there in the comment section below, and what do you think with regard to it? Please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more.